Welcome to another episode of Books and Bytes.
Great to be here.
Today we're doing a deep dive into a really influential book, Seth Godin's Purple Cow, Transform Your Business by Being Remarkable.
Ah, yes, a classic in modern marketing thinking.
And our mission really is to unpack Godin's core argument. How do you actually stand out when, every market seems so crowded? What makes something genuinely remarkable?
And he uses that brilliant central metaphor, the purple cow. You're driving along, you see fields of brown cows. Pretty standard stuff.
Right. Boring, even.
Exactly. Then suddenly, boom, a purple cow. It's completely unexpected, maybe even a bit startling.
You'd definitely stop and look. You'd probably tell someone about it.
That's the goal. Your product, your service needs to be that purple cow in a field of the ordinary. Something phenomenal, counterintuitive, worth talking about.
Okay, so why is this idea so vital now? Godin talks about the end of an era, something he calls the TV industrial complex. What exactly was that?
Well, for decades, the dominant strategy was pretty straightforward. You'd create, fairly average products designed for the masses.
Average products for average people.
Pretty much. And then you'd pour money into mass advertising, mostly TV ads, to reach everyone. Think Procter & Gamble, General Foods back in the day.
They built huge brands that way.
Absolutely. Broad reach, constant interruption through ads, consistent messaging. That was the formula.
But as you said, that formula isn't really working anymore. What broke down?
A whole lot of things, really. First, there's just an explosion of choice. Supermarkets went from, 7,000 items to maybe 30,000 or more.
Overwhelming.
Totally. And media fragmented like crazy. Cable channels, then the internet, social media. There's no single place to reach everyone with one ad campaign anymore.
Plus, we've all gotten better at tuning out ads, haven't we?
Oh, definitely. Godin calls it marketing immunization. We're just bombarded constantly, so our brains naturally filter out most marketing messages.
And the internet changed the game with word of mouth.
Hugely. A recommendation from a friend or even an online review carries so much more weight now than a slick TV commercial.
So Godin's big point is this fundamental shift. Forget making safe, average products and then trying to plaster them with marketing.
Right. Instead, you need to start by creating something truly remarkable, something that the right people, the interested people, will actively seek out and, crucially, talk about.
The product itself becomes the marketing.
That's the core idea. Your product is the purple cow.
Let's dig into that word remarkable. What does it really mean in this context? It's not just like incrementally better, is it?
No, not at all. That's a key distinction. Very good is actually boring now, Godin argues. Remarkable means it's literally worth making a remark about.
Okay.
It needs to be exceptional, maybe outrageous, exciting, new, interesting.
Yeah.
Something that triggers conversation naturally.
He gives some great examples. Dutch Boy paint comes to mind. That wasn't about the paint formula itself, was it?
The paint was paint. What they did was redesign the container. They introduced that plastic twist-off can with the integrated spout.
Ah, I remember those. They were so much easier to use.
Exactly. It solved a common painter's frustration. Messy cans, hard to reseal. It was a simple packaging innovation, but in a category famous for not innovating, it was instantly remarkable. People noticed.
So not a huge ad budget, but a smart product change. What about Krispy Kreme?
Krispy Kreme, in their heyday, turned buying donuts into an experience. The Hot Donuts Now sign.
A beacon of hope.
Right. And you could often see the donuts being made through the window. It was theater. It was fresh. It was shareable. That experience was their purple cow.
And Starbucks. They took something incredibly mundane, coffee, and made it different.
They built what sociology calls a third place. Not home, not work, but a comfortable community spot. They elevated the coffee, the atmosphere, the whole ritual.
Justifying a much higher price point.
And building massive loyalty and word of mouth. That experience was remarkable compared to a standard coffee shop back then.
Then there's HBO, a totally different model for TV.
Yeah, their purple cow is basically saying, we're going to charge you for television, which was radical at the time.
But that allowed them to do things network TV couldn't.
Precisely. By not relying solely on advertisers wanting mass appeal, they could create niche, groundbreaking, often edgy programming, like The Sopranos' Sex and the City. Stuff people were willing to pay for and absolutely talked about.
So the pattern seems clear. The remarkability has to be baked into the offering itself, not just layered on top with ads.
That's it. The product or service itself generates the buzz. Word of mouth becomes your primary marketing channel.
Okay, if being remarkable is so powerful, why aren't more companies doing it? Why the hesitation?
Well, the biggest factor is probably fear, plain and simple.
Fear of what specifically?
Failing. Fear of failing, yes, definitely. But also, interestingly, fear of standing out too much. Fear of criticism. Fear of being perceived as weird or risky.
And corporate structures often don't help, right?
Not usually. Large organizations often reward predictability, hitting quarterly numbers, avoiding mistakes, not necessarily taking big, bold swings that might lead to a purple cow, but could also fail spectacularly.
Godin talks about a fear curve. What's that showing us?
It visualizes this idea that companies often try to avoid both extremes, outright failure, and radical success or differentiation. They drift towards the safe, boring middle.
Which is actually the most dangerous place to be.
Exactly. Because in the middle, you're invisible. You're not remarkable enough to get noticed, but you're not failing badly enough to force a major change. You just blend in.
He uses Motorola as a kind of cautionary tale, right? With the StarTAC phone?
Yeah, the StarTAC was a huge hit. A genuinely remarkable piece of design and innovation for its time. A true purple cow.
It was the cool phone to have.
Absolutely.
Well,
but then, what did Motorola do? They kind of rested on their laurels. They made incremental improvements, played it safe, and completely missed the boat on the next big wave smartphones.
While others were innovating radically.
Right. So their initial remarkability faded, and playing it safe ended up being their biggest risk. Godin's warning is stark. Playing it safe is no longer safe.
Wow. Okay, so this implies a fundamental shift in how marketing needs to operate too. It's not just about promoting stuff after it's made.
No, absolutely not. Marketing can't just be the coloring in department anymore, as Godin puts it. It needs a seat at the table right from the start of product development.
Helping to build the remarkability in from the ground up.
Exactly. Asking the tough questions. Is this remarkable? Who will talk about this? Why?
And this leads to another key Godin concept. The sneezers. Who are they?
Sneezers are essentially the early adopters, the enthusiasts, the influencers within a market niche. They're the ones who get excited about new ideas or products and spread them like a virus. Hence, sneezers.
The trendsetters, the opinion leaders?
Yeah. They're the ones who try the new restaurant first, adopt the new technology early, and then tell all their friends about it.
But Godin says they're hard to reach with traditional methods.
Very. They're often skeptical of hype, immune to slick advertising. They trust their own judgment and the opinions of other sneezers.
So how do you reach them?
You need something genuinely remarkable, something that offers real value, solves a real problem in a new way, or provides a unique, compelling experience. Only then will they pay attention and potentially start sneezing your idea to others.
Can you give examples of companies that successfully targeted sneezers?
Sure. JetBlue, early on, focused on experienced travelers who were frustrated with the established airlines. They offered things like live TV and more legroom remarkable perks that got these frequent flyers talking.
Google, too, in the beginning.
Definitely. Google didn't need massive ad campaigns initially. Their search engine was just demonstrably better than anything else available. Tech-savvy early adopters, the sneezers, found it, loved it, and spread the word virally.
And Apple is a master at this.
Consistently. Their product launches are events. They design products that excite tech enthusiasts and designers, the sneezers in their market, who then become powerful advocates.
Godin throws out a few more quick examples of remarkability. The Volkswagen Beetle.
Both the original and the new Beetle succeeded precisely because they were different. Their unique, non-mainstream design was their purple cow, appealing to people who didn't want a cookie-cutter car.
Even something simple like bandages.
Yeah, Curad challenging Band-Aid by putting cartoon characters on their bandages. A simple tweak, but remarkable to kids and parents in a very staid category.
Logitech and computer mice.
Their remarkability came from continuous innovation. Instead of just one product, they kept iterating, improving design, adding features, appealing to tech users who wanted the latest and best peripherals.
In Cemex, the cement company, seems like an unlikely place for a purple cow.
Right, but they created remarkability around delivery. Offering a guarantee on-time delivery, or it's free, or heavily discounted, was huge in the construction industry where delays cost a fortune. That service promise was remarkable.
The Palm Pilot example is interesting too, especially after the GridPad failed.
Yeah, the earlier GridPad tried to do too much, was too complex. The Palm Pilot succeeded by being remarkably simple and focused. It did a few things really well, like organizing contacts and calendars, and was incredibly easy to use. That focus was its remarkability.
So the underlying point is, remarkable doesn't just mean weird or strange for its own sake.
Not at all. It has to be worth making a remark about, because it offers genuine value, solves a problem uniquely, is exceptionally designed, or creates a distinct experience. It needs substance.
Godin also talks about how these ideas spread, the progression. It doesn't happen all at once.
No, he uses the classic diffusion of innovation model. Ideas typically start with a small group of innovators, then spread to early adopters. These are your sneezers.
Okay.
If you win them over, the idea might cross the chasm to the early majority, then the late majority, and finally the laggards who adopt last.
And the critical part is focusing on those first groups.
Absolutely. Godin stresses that you must succeed with the innovators and early adopters, first the edges of the market. Don't try to appeal to the masses right away.
Like Amazon starting with just books.
Exactly. They focused on book lovers, people comfortable with online purchasing early on. They dominated that niche.
Napster and music sharing among tech-savvy college students.
Another perfect example. They targeted a specific group passionate about music and technology.
Linny for developers and tech hobbyists.
Same pattern. Serve a passionate niche exceptionally well first. Their enthusiasm and word of mouth provide the momentum to potentially reach a broader audience later. The lesson, Gobi says, is find a constituency and obsess about them.
He even proposes a whole new set of P's for marketing, replacing the traditional ones.
Right. Instead of product, price, place, promotion, he suggests thinking about things like, obviously, purple cow.
The core idea.
Then positive impact, permission marketing, positioning, ensuring pursuit to be sneezers, persistence, using peer pressure, striving for perfection.
And profit is on the list, but notably last.
Yeah, the idea being that profit is the result of getting the other P's right, particularly the purple cow, not the primary driver of product decisions.
Yeah. That's a significant reframe.
It really is. Focus on creating remarkable value first.
So for a company or even an individual wanting to actually create a purple cow, what are some practical steps Godin suggests?
Well, first, learn to tell the difference between criticism, which often aims for safety and conformity, and genuine feedback aimed at making something more remarkable.
Okay, that's subtle but important.
Very. Then actively look for things that are just not done in your industry. That's often fertile ground for remarkability. Ask, why not do it that way?
Challenge the status quo.
Exactly. Be willing to raise the stakes. Do something bold that might generate conversation. Target a niche audience first. Don't try to please everyone initially.
Build a culture for it, too.
Crucial. Foster a culture that actually rewards remarkable ideas, even if they sometimes fail. You need to tolerate, even celebrate, failures that happen in the pursuit of remarkability. Observe the fringes, the edges of the market. That's often where the future is happening.
And keep asking why not?
Constantly. He points to Quicken Software as an example of sustained remarkability. Their initial focus was purely on ease of use for personal finance, something radically different at the time, and they stuck with that core principle.
What about the bigger picture? What are the broader consequences of this shift away from the TV industrial complex?
Well, you see clear winners and losers emerging. Companies that embrace remarkability and constant innovation, think Apple, Netflix, maybe Southwest Airlines, tend to thrive.
And the losers.
Those clinging to the old model of mass production, mass marketing, and hoping for the best often struggle or disappear. He mentions examples like Polaroid, Montgomery Ward, companies that didn't adapt.
So it's driving a shift from mass markets to micro markets.
Precisely. Success now often lies in identifying and serving specific niches exceptionally well, rather than trying to be everything to everyone.
There's an ethical dimension here too, right? Not all remarkable things are necessarily good.
That's an important point Godin touches on. Cigarettes were remarkable in their marketing and product design for a long time. Subprime mortgages were a remarkable financial innovation with disastrous results.
So just being remarkable isn't enough.
Right. The challenge really is to create remarkable products and services that actually improve people's lives, provide genuine value, and make a positive contribution, not just things that stand out for the wrong reasons.
How can organizations actually put this purple cow thinking into practice day to day?
He suggests a few things. Maybe create a remarkable all-meter to explicitly evaluate new ideas on this dimension. Allocate specific resources, time, and budget for potentially remarkable, but maybe risky projects.
Like a protected R&D fund for weird ideas.
Kind of, yeah. Create safe spaces where people can pitch unconventional ideas without fear of immediate dismissal. Make a point of celebrating the learning from failed experiments, not just punishing failure. And actively nurture the weird employees, the ones who think differently.
He mentioned Saturn cars as an example of getting it right initially, but then losing it.
Yeah, Saturn launched with a completely different, customer-focused, no-haggles sales process and unique car designs. It was incredibly remarkable at first.
People loved Saturn early on.
They did. But over time, the pressures of being part of GM, the need for conformity, kind of eroded that uniqueness. The cars became more conventional, the experience less distinct, the purple cow faded.
This isn't just for businesses, though. He applies it to individuals, too.
Absolutely. In today's job market, just being competent, being average, isn't enough to guarantee security or success. You need to be remarkable in your career, too.
How does that look practically?
It means finding ways to stand out. Maybe developing deep expertise in a valuable niche, like the accountant who becomes the expert on a specific complex tax issue for creatives.
Or a programmer mastering an obscure but crucial coding language.
Or a consultant who specializes solely in turning around struggling family businesses. It's about finding your unique value proposition, your personal purple cow, so you're not just another easily replaceable pog.
Average is not an option.
That's the message. You need to find a way to be worth remarking about professionally.
Okay, but remarkability can fade. Like with Saturn, how do you sustain it? It can't be just one trick pony.
No, and that's a critical point. A purple cow is, by its nature, often perishable. Once everyone starts copying it, it's not remarkable anymore.
So you need more purple cows.
Exactly. Godin advocates for building a purple cow factory. This means creating an organization, a system, a culture that is constantly looking for and developing the next remarkable thing.
Like 3M with its history of innovation, or Apple under Steve Jobs, maybe?
Those are often cited as examples. Companies that don't just rest on one success, but have innovation baked into their DNA. Long-term success doesn't come from one purple cow, but from the ability to generate them repeatedly.
So, wrapping this up, the core message of Purple Cow seems incredibly relevant today, maybe even more so than when it was written.
I'd agree. In a world saturated with information and options, just being good isn't good enough. You have to be remarkable.
And that means rethinking everything from product development, away from safe mediocrity, towards genuine innovation.
To marketing, focusing less on interruption and more on engaging those early adopters, the sneezers, with something truly worth talking about.
And understanding that this needs to be an ongoing process, a constant search for the next source of remarkability.
It's a fundamental shift in how we should think about building businesses and even careers.
It leaves you with a really provocative question, doesn't it? Look around your own industry, your own work, your own life. What are the boring brown cows?
Mm-hmm.
And then the really important question, what purple cow could you create?
A powerful challenge indeed.
Definitely food for thought. If you want to dive deeper into Seth Godin's ideas, you can grab a copy of Purple Cow using the link in our description.
It's a quick read, but packed with insights.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Books and Bytes for more deep dives into impactful books.